On today's show, the Atlanta Hawks begin their Summer League journey on Saturday, and there's plenty to discuss before the Hawks head to Utah and Las Vegas. It's a two-part Summer League preview episode with Glen Willis, and it's coming up right now.
You are Locked On Hawks, your daily Atlanta Hawks podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello, friends. Welcome to episode 2276 of the Locked On Hawks podcast. I am your host, Brad Rowland, coming to you deep into the night here on a Thursday evening into Friday here in early July. And today's show, sponsored by the folks at FanDuel. The biggest stage in world soccer is here. Let there be goals on FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com. That's FanDuel.com to get started right now. And it's actually going to be part one of two coming up with myself and Glen Willis of ATL on 29. Glen and I do an annual Summer League preview episode, and that's what this is going to be in two parts because the Hawks have a lot of interesting players. We'll talk about more in this conversation. Atlanta begins their Summer League journey on Saturday in Utah before going to Las Vegas. And a few days after that, I'll be following the team from Utah to Las Vegas in person and doing episodes from those locations. So please stay tuned for that. All quiet, relatively so, on the non-Summer League front. No transactions for the Hawks last couple days. They do have a roster crunch that's building. We'll talk about much more over the coming days. But in the meantime, it's all Summer League all the time. And here we go with part one, myself and Glen Willis right now. I'm joined now by a great friend of the podcast, Glen Willis of ATL on 29. Glen, it's sicko season. How are you, my friend?
It is sicko season. This is one of the episodes I enjoy a lot and look forward to kind of just talking through the roster today.
Absolutely. It's Summer League preview time. Obviously, I did a show yesterday, as people listen to this, with Matt Powers about the draft picks, and we'll talk about those guys again today. And it's always weird trying to get to Summer League because, like, the Hawks' big league roster has some questions, and I'm not ignoring those things. But Summer League starts on Saturday, so you got to preview it sometime, and here we are. It's going to be busy. One of the big questions, and we'll probably talk about this a couple times as we talk here, is like who's going to play when and how much. And
yep.
I don't have the answer for you. We tried to ask the guys at the kind of one Summer League Media Day event, and no one was eager to tell us, which is kind of what they should say. They shouldn't tell us.
Yeah.
But I will say, only one back-to-back. They're playing a lot of games in Vegas and Utah, but only one of them are back-to-back days. So maybe we'll see these guys for a while. Listen, let's just start here, Glenn. I made this point. I wonder if you agree. This is one of the better, if not the best, Summer League roster I can recall for the Hawks as far as like depth is concerned. I know there's maybe not a Trae Young level like star power thing going on here because Trae was very famous then, but like, man, they got nine guys who might be on the team when the season ends, which is crazy.
Yeah, it's a good team. There's a lot of shooting on it. There's a lot of defense on it. And then the draft picks, it's going to be fun to see how they kind of fit into what they're trying to do.
Yeah, and the extra games in Utah are fun. I think the non-total diehards might get surprised on Saturday. It's July 4th. You might see like a Hawks social media post like, by the way, they're playing a game right now against Darren Peterson in Salt Lake City. And people are like, wait, what? Why are they playing? What's going on here? So yeah. I'm looking forward to that reaction when that happens on Saturday. Also, this is something that you and I would talk about normally if it was not there's this interesting rule change. They got a lot of reaction today. I'm not sure how online you were today. They're doing the G League shoot one free throw to have the whole trip.
I did see that.
People that don't watch the G League have never seen this before. Do you care about this? I just want to ask you that right quick.
It's a little weird to me, but I don't care. So, but it's
Summer League, guys. Like, if this is a real game that mattered, I would understand the reaction.
Games
Summer League,
they're just doing. Yeah, games go a little faster as a result. A little
that's
things on the margins.
That is literally all it is. So, anyway, all right. Without any further delay, let's talk about some players. If it's okay with you, let's just start with the draft picks. Obviously, Summer League, the headliners at Summer League, with a few exceptions nationally, are the rookies, are the guys who were just drafted. They're the ones the league promotes. It's all about those matchups. And look, as we're talking Thursday night, we don't know for sure, but I think we're going to get Flemings versus Darren Peterson on Saturday. That's a hook in itself. Kingston Flemings obviously is the number one headliner, number 8 overall pick. You and I have talked a little offline, but have not talked online since the draft. I did listen to ATL on 29, but for people that maybe have not heard your opinion, what do you think of Kingston Flemings broadly? And then we'll talk about Summer League.
I think the draft played out really, really well for the Hawks. I think he's, one of the best 5 players in the draft class. I think his explosiveness and his commitment to playing hard all the time. I think he has a sneaky amount of athleticism. He has some more verticality than if you haven't had to watch him play much in college. I think I don't watch a ton of college basketball, but my good friend YouTube, I can go back and find some clips and get some things and stuff like that. So for me, and even defensively, like just the way he applies himself, even though he's a little on the shorter side, he's 6'4", so it's not like doesn't have any size at all, but he still is smart, jumping passing lanes, timing a dig, timing a double. He has a lot of good defensive processing this area. So I'm excited to watch him play.
Yeah, so am I. And look, he's going to get scrutinized. And I already made the joke yesterday with Matt about Trey's Utah experience. I'm sure you remember the reaction to Trey's struggles in Utah 8 years ago.
Jared hit like 17 threes and Trey hit down.
Let's not do that again, no matter what happens. I hope everybody can agree to do that. But no, as we'll talk about throughout the roster, what the Hawks definitely, I think, seemingly tried to. Otzi has not talked since they announced the roster, but there's a lot of shooting on this roster. I would imagine that's purposeful, not only for Kingston, but certainly they want Kingston to operate with space. That was a notable thing in the post-draft comments that Ante made, both at the night of and also at the intro press conference. Like, they think he's going to be even better with NBA spacing, and I tend to agree with that. I think that was probably going in what they wanted to do with the Summer League roster. So beyond like just the player, it's often said that Summer League is about guards, and that I think is generally true. It's much more, it's less structured than an NBA game. The quality of bigs is usually pretty low in Summer League, if we're being honest, and the quality of guards is better. But for someone like Flemings, who's going to be 19 years old playing in this setting, what are you looking for? What, as someone, you watch the game, if people don't know, with more of a coach's eye than I do, like what are you looking for Flemings? Like what boxes are you trying to check over the next week and a half?
Yeah, I mean, so a lot of it is him kind of creating points in transition. He's really good in that phase. But they're going to be running different scheme than what he ran in college, right? So the Hawks rely on motion and movement, and so he's got to be willing to do that on the ball and off the ball. There are going to be times he's going to be, I think, on. There will be times I think he's going to be off. And then the split cuts on the weak side and all that motion and movement. All of the ghosts of brush screens, you don't see a lot of that in college. Like some of the more advanced programs, like UConn, will do some of that, right? And some other programs will do that. North Carolina will do some of that. They'll use that kind of fast action ghost of brush screen. And so it's just gonna be a different pace. And I think he talked about that in his availability, that it's different pace. I think I saw that 4.5 minute clip or whatever it was on X, I think. And so for me, it's like, can he acclimate to, okay, I'm being asked to do X and Y and Z. This is different from how I played at Houston, right? In that sense. And so it's just, I think if it takes him a game or two to kind of acclimate to like this kind of new kind of scheme stuff, won't surprise me at all. But he seems smart. He seems like a high level processor. So it doesn't feel like it's going to take 3 or 4 games for him to kind of figure out, this is what I'm doing on ball, this is what I'm doing off ball. I think he'll get there pretty quickly. But the thing that I'll never question is, like, I know he's going to play hard every minute he's on the floor, because that's just what he does.
The biggest stage in world soccer is here. Every single match feels like it has the potential for a memorable moment at any moment. And one goal could totally change the energy of a game. The momentum might shift, perhaps, and actually alter the outcome in just an instant. That's what makes tournament soccer so exciting, from the opening whistle until the final kick. And now folks at FanDuel are giving fans another reason to stay locked into every single match with every goal pays. Bet on a match at FanDuel, get bonus bets for every goal scored in that match. More goals means more bonus bets. All you have to do is turn on your token at FanDuel. And tournament soccer keeps you engaged from the beginning to the end, of course, even in matches that are maybe not ones that you were high on the priority list coming into the day. If you're a soccer fan, you've definitely seen this before, where one of these matches might be kind of a slog for a while, might be scoreless for some time, and then one goal totally flips the game. And suddenly everyone starts to press, play faster, the crowd comes alive, and the final 20 minutes or so become absolute must-watch television. And even as a total non-expert in the world of soccer like I am, that's so much fun to watch. And with FanDuel, you get the benefit right now of every goal scored. From the opening whistle to the final kickoff, let there be goals on FanDuel. Visit FanDuel.com right now. That's FanDuel.com to get started. On Flemings, it's interesting because a lot of times when a top 10 pick is on a Summer League team, some teams, and you watch everybody, not just the Hawks like I do,
Yep.
Like, we'll clear out their roster for that player and almost like build it around them.
Yep.
The Hawks didn't really do that. I mean, I'm not in a bad way, but the Hawks there are a lot of guards. Like, in particular, both current two ways that the Hawks have carried over from last year are guards, and Keyshawn Gilbert and Rita Dennis are on-ball guards they can play with Kingston, but like they can also run the team on, so they don't have to play Kingston 35 minutes in these games. Like, they don't have to run everything through him, and that's, I think, like you just said, it's probably a good opportunity for him to play off the ball a little bit. In the NBA, even as soon as this season when he's playing, he isn't going to be the every down playmaker that some point guards are. They have Jalen Johnson. Like, they're not going to suddenly just run everything through Kingston Flemings in November in a game if they have everybody available. So I would say the same thing. I'm intrigued to see how he operates on and off the ball, like the immediate returns of having more space. And look, as we'll talk about deeper into this, they don't have many big, like true bigs on this roster. I mean, you got Vasar, and I mean, Ace is a perimeter player, and not that he's the only perimeter player, but he certainly can play. Like, there's not a lot of like true bigs on this roster, which I think they'll be playing fast, and they'll be playing 5 out, and that should favor Flemings, but we'll see how he responds. But obviously, he'll be. I agree. Maybe he'll have a bad game or two at some point along the way. It shouldn't freak anybody out. He's a 19-year-old guard. Guards, especially rookie guards, tend to stink, in my opinion, even if they're going to be good. But maybe he won't, and I think he'll play hard, which is man. I know I've been saying it a lot, but as someone who is around the team and talks to people, it's not just lip service. Like, everybody loves the kid. Like, everybody loves the kid. I made some calls like more since the draft about like people around the Houston program, like people that have no reason to lie to me, and they're like, no, this guy's awesome. You're gonna love him, and I think I already do. I talked to him one time. I think I already love him. So we'll see.
Yeah, and he, for a 19-year-old, he already has like charisma, and he knows how to navigate the media. I mean, that's pretty, for 19 years old. It's pretty impressive how thoughtful his responses were already. I'm thinking a lot of guys, NBA setting, NBA media, different kind of thing, a little bit uncomfortable, or just take some time to get used to it. But he looked like fully comfortable, like in that setting, as answering whatever questions you all were asking him in that availability.
Yeah, he's going to be a lot of fun. The other two, I don't necessarily try to lump them together, but you got Zuby Ejiofor and Henry Vasar, who are not the same body type, not the same game.
Not close.
But they also are going to be, they're going to be talked about together in some ways. Same draft class. They had the same wingspan, which makes me laugh, having seen them in person now together. It's funny that they have the same wingspan, but they do. Zuby went first in the draft, so we'll talk about him first. Another guy that everybody raves about as far as like his motor and the way he cares, and he got everybody laughing in his scrum. We were laughing about him just being kind of he's speaking charismatic. He already has it too. But on the court, I don't know how much you got to watch him so far, but he's the kind of guy that could be interesting in summer league, and like the way they use him. I think he might play some center in summer league, especially because given the roster, they don't really have a lot of centers. They really only have one definite center, and his name is Henry Vasar, who's a rookie. So what do you make of what are you looking for Zuby?
Yeah, I mean, it's the motor is like that's clearly what the front office was really valuing here with both Flemings and Zuby, right? And he just plays so hard on defense. He's impactful, and his technique is really, really clean. He knows how to kind of stay vertical. He's not kind of reaching and lunging for pump fakes. He had a good number of years, in college. But he's pretty, for where they got him, he's pretty advanced. I still think it's hilarious that Kevin O'Connor called him the worst pick in the first draft. I'm just like, the first round, I was like, what are we doing?
Yeah, that's an example of, without going crazy into this, that's an example to me. And I saw he wasn't the only one. He's the one that was most egregious. So whatever. Yeah. But that's like, they didn't pick the archetype that I wanted them to pick. It basically was like, he's not a 7-foot center, so it has to be a bad pick. It's like, all right, cool.
I mean, clearly, part of this is the feedback from the Knicks series where they just didn't have enough physicality in the front court, right? And that's what really, they couldn't deal with OG, they couldn't deal with Towns, they couldn't deal with Mitchell Robinson, who's now on the Celtics. They couldn't deal with like all these big guys. So that was a feedback loop that Ansi and the team was like, okay, we got to find somebody who can handle those kinds of matchups and stuff. And it's not that Zuby's going to play 15 minutes a game in his rookie season. I think he'll play more than people might expect, depending upon injury situation or whatever and things like that. But on the offensive side, he'll take a corner three if he's the rule is like you're open, you take the shot. In the NBA, like and he was roughly a 30% 3-point shooter. So that's something that I'm sure they're going to ask him to work on in that sense, and such. But yeah, I mean, his motor and his physicality is just, I think, something that really just jumps out at you when you watch him play. And the key will be, it'll be interesting to see how they use him offensively. Is he screening a lot? Is he screening and rolling to the rim? And those sorts of things. I mean, I'm interested to see what kind of offensive role they have him in.
Yeah, I agree. I know that they think not that he definitely will, but they believe that he'll be able to shoot sooner rather than later. Like his stroke looks better than the result so far. I don't want to comp it to Okongwu. It's already happening, but there was a belief when they drafted Okongwu that one day he'd shoot. And he never really shot in college in the way that even Zuby did a little bit in college.
Yeah.
And it took Onyeka 5 years to be able to do it, and he was able to, of course, now.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to actually seeing how they use him, both positionally and schematically, like who they play him with.
Yep.
Like, I don't care who starts, just for the record, but like they have to make a decision on that. Actually, I think Ace is going to start. So day one, I would imagine in summer league. So like, are you going to try to play Zuby at the 3 with Asa and Besar just to have them on the court together, or are you going to like bring Zuby off the bench or bring Besar off the bench? They could start Asa and Zuby together at the 4 and the 5. I wouldn't be surprised by that at all. So
they could. It helps that Asa can shoot and Besar can shoot. It helps. Like that makes it more functional.
I think 2 years from now, and people want to put guys into these roles right away in the NBA, and rookies take a while. I think 2 years from now, I think a combination in the front court, maybe more of a second unit combination, but like an Ejiofor, Asa Newell, 4 and 5 in the NBA, like makes a lot of sense to me. Actually, Asa is a bigger than average power forward. Zuby is a little smaller than average at center, but they complement each other well. I think physicality wise, it makes sense to me. I kind of want to see a preview of that at some point in Utah or Vegas. So
I know Hawks fans are still frustrated. They had a rim protector. We don't know that might still happen. We don't know what else they're working on right now, right? So, but but I mean, Landell's coming back, and I think that's gonna be helpful, even if the price tag was a little more than what I thought it would be. But no, I mean, from that vantage point, I think Zuby is gonna play hard, and whether he's coming off the bench in some games. I mean, the big question is how many games is Ace going to play? Is it 4? Is it 5? What's that number? And because it'll be interesting to see what that is. He knowing him, he probably wants to play them all. Just knowing him. But it'll be interesting to see how the playing time is kind of divided up amongst Besar, Asa, Zuby, and then the other like Cameron Corhan. He play a lot, or he's what 6'10" or so he's got some size.
He's the only other big. I mean, obviously Eli Njai is kind of a big as well. Like he's not a 7-footer, but that's basically your entire big man room. And I would wager to say Asa's not going to play deep into the second week of Las Vegas. So by the end, it might get a little bit funny with the bigs. But by then nobody's watched anyway other than me and you, Glenn. So
it's
sickos only truly by the end.
Everybody's exhausted from the heat and trying to hydrate and all that stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And actually, I'll use Ejiofor as the plank for this, but it applies to a lot of guys. You watch a ton of summer league. I always find it interesting, the dynamic of like guys play generally really hard in summer league because they know why they're there and they're trying to impress. So there's this idea that the guys are just kind of like going up and down, and it's scattershot for sure. Yeah. It's less organized for sure, but the effort is usually not an issue for most guys in summer league. I wonder how that's going to look for Zuby, who like already that's not a problem for him at all. Like I think his motor is like part of the selling point. So if you still notice it, even in summer league, when everybody's busting it every play, that actually would be kind of impressive because he's going to be. That's what he's very renowned for already, like how hard he plays, and I think that will probably show up right away.
Yeah, and then all the guys who were outside the league trying to get in the league, they know like teams are there watching them. I'm going to go play hard. I want to be known as a guy who play. You never know. You might get an opportunity to play on a team's G League team and get one step closer to the league. And so guys who are really invested in trying to kind of make progress towards an actual opportunity to play in the league, they'll go play hard. Ones that really care.
So I want to go to Vesar now. obviously he ended up being a pick outside the 50s, but everyone kind of knows by now. There are varying accounts of this, but there was some shenanigans to get him to fall. It worked out great for the Hawks.
Yep.
Yeah, exactly. The second round's a wild, wild west.
Yep.
I do want to remind people that he was a second round pick, and I think people should approach him that way as far as like expectations for rookie season, like prioritization too. Like, yes, he is better than a second round pick normally is as far as pedigree is concerned, but that's still what he is coming into the league. But great pick in my opinion. It may not work out because like any pick in that range, but I was really excited about that investment. Do you share that excitement? Like what with what you've seen so far from Vesar, what did you make of that? And also what do you like about him that you've seen?
Yeah, so for me it was strange because as I went and looked at different outlets like some people had him like a late first round grade, that showed up sometimes, and other people had him more like top of the second round, and how he fell all the way to 52 was just like you said, the agents are like telling, don't draft my guy, we won't say, we'll go to Europe for a year, making all these threats, all the different threats they make, and stuff that happen as stuff really happens. But so for me, the thing that jumps out at you is it's good that he can shoot the basketball. I go back to Ansi pre-draft, the last ability he said, we talked about bigs and we said, can he space? Like that's a very specific thing that he said. And Vesar could shoot the basketball from the 3-point line, right? He can do that. His passing is pretty high level as well. He's really good kind of operating in sort of 4-5 kind of pick and roll, or working with Caleb Wilson would oftentimes kind of give him the ball and cut to the basket. And he's just got good feel and timing and spacing as a passer. I'm anxious to see, not anxious, I'm interested to see him defensively because, in Zuby, they got a switchable, big, right? If we call him a big. Vesar, the question is can he do that? That's the question that we have. It'll be interesting to see if they are switching when he's on the floor, or if he's playing drop when he's on the floor. I think we know that Quinn really values people who can switch, in that sense. We'll see if he struggles with that, or if he's able to execute that. We'll see if we're just going to get him to the level and then let him get back to the rim. They might just have a slight schematic adjustment when he's playing at the 5. So offensively, like there's a lot there. There's a lot of good stuff there offensively. He's a good offensive rebounder. He works really, really hard on the offensive glass. Defensively, it's like, how are they deploying him? And it'll take, after the first game, I'm sure like Kevin and Todd and I'll probably have a little bit of a recap of like, what did we see? How did we think it went in that sense? But that's the one thing I'm interested to see is if they're using him a little differently than the other quote fives on the roster when he's on the floor in the center.
Yeah, I had a feeling you'd say that, and I would have if you didn't, because I think that's, his offense is what is intriguing the most about him. But for me, it's like his future is going to be dictated by his defense. Like, can he function in various schemes? Can he protect the rim? He is a more traditional big that in that way. I will say he moves pretty well. It's not like he's total stiff by any means.
Yep.
It's been funny. I've seen some, and most of this is just like fan stuff. They haven't seen him play a lot, but I've seen some caricatures of Vesar out there. Like he's this only like this shoot. Like no, he's actually pretty physical on offense. Like he'll finish around the rim. He's not just like a pick and pop guy only. And then defensively, he's a 7-footer. And his standing reach is totally fine, but he's not the dominant rim protector. He can do that a little bit. We'll see. But do they play differently with him at center versus when it's Ejiofor or Elienjai or even Asa at center? Like, do they actually function differently, or do they want him to see what he can do? Because, he didn't talk, at least when I was there this week. But Asa, we'll talk about Asa in a second. Asa was very open about what the team has told him, which basically like they want to see him switch in summer league, and they're going to have him switching and playing on the perimeter defensively. And I wonder if that's going to be like everybody's going to do that, or if it's going to be Vesar has different rules. We'll find out.
It'll be on Saturday. It'll be interesting to see what they do, and I'm sure I'll have my comments when we do our follow up pod on after the first game. Yeah,
and look, we'll probably recap at some point later in the summer when you and I talk again about like how we think. I don't think this was controversial, but today I was talking to somebody and people saw it because it was public on Twitter. I replied to somebody and just said, hey, my projection is at some point in the season, Ejiofor and Vesar will each spend some time in College Park. And that was seen as like controversial. And it's like, guys, just do the math on the roster. Like they have a full roster and they're both rookies that were drafted outside the top 20. Like the safe money is always that those guys will, I'm not saying they're going to be there all year. At some point, though, I would guess is that crazy? Am I wrong on this? What do you
No,
think?
that they'll need to play somewhere. If they're not getting minutes on the actual NBA team, they need to go to College Park and play and develop and be prioritized from a developmental standpoint there. So I think the first 1 to 2 months of the season or whatever, they're going to be down there a lot, and they'll need to be down there a lot, and it'll be good for them to be down there a lot. So,
yeah, I mean, honestly, just look at last year. Asa is a different kind of player in some way, but it's similar positionally. Asa was forced into action at the NBA level because they got really thin, and that happened.
Yeah.
But this year's roster is deeper than last year's roster, and Asa was basically drafted at the same slot as Zuby, and Asa spent a bunch of time in the G League. That's just what happens. It's not. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not a big deal.
Not at all. I mean, it's how it works, and he did well. I know we'll talk about him in a moment, but I'm excited to see him play in summer league. But that stretch of months where he and Mo had to basically be the functional backup five was just like brutal. And they lost a ton of games when they were trying to play that way. Thankfully, they got Land out the trade deadline, and they, until Goga hurt them, that they had, two, legitimate kind of. Onyeka is a starting level center, and Jock is a, proper, number two. I think in that sense, and he's coming back. So, and with that, until Jock got hurt, they actually played pretty good defense. And again, the rim protection is still the issue. There's still some games that give up too many points in the paint, and things like that. But no, I think this is going to be fun to watch these rookies play and see how they're deployed and see how they're used and see how quickly each of them acclimate. I think it's going to be fun to see.
So I didn't warn you about this on purpose, but it's a funny way to get into Asa, right? So Asa Newell's back for year 2. I know you agree because we talked about this. I think people have kind of been sleeping on Asa Newell. I think Asa showed a lot of things last year, and
yes,
especially if you watched the G League, you were probably impressed like I was. And even at the NBA level, like on offense at the NBA level, he played really well. Defensively, obviously, there's a long way to go, but he was 19 and, like you just said, forced to play center in a way he probably shouldn't have to be. But I say that I got an unprompted text today from, I'll call this person a scout in the league, a professional person who works for a team, not the Hawks. Keep that in mind, not the Hawks. And they said, am I crazy, or could Asa Newell win Summer League MVP? And I said, well, I don't think he will because he won't play the whole time. But if you told me he was going to play the whole time in Vegas, I think he could win Summer League MVP. I might be wrong about that, but it's possible.
So watching him play last year, just putting kind of a coaching lens on, right? When they asked him to play the 5, it was a brutal ask of him. It's just a really, really tough ask of him. But he didn't shy away from it. He went out and tried and did what he could in that sense. But his level of offensive processing for a 19-year-old power forward is crazy good. I mean, he's 0.5s. He makes the right pass. He doesn't let the ball get stuck in his hands. He gets the closeout. He'll tack the closeout, try to get to the rim, try to make a pass, try to get a paint touch. And that's the stuff that blew me away all last year. And when he was open, he took a shot, right? And he shot it quite well last year. So offensively, it's all there. The stuff he cleaned up defensively after spending a lot of time in the G League. So early in the year, it was a lot of fouling. It was a lot of kind of getting lowered to kind of a pump fake kind of thing. When he came back and played the last, say, 2 months of the season, his hands were back. He kept the, you put your hands up for, like Onyeka has when he gets tired, because they played him so many minutes last year. He get tired and have the tendency to put his hands out front of him and get the foul. But Asa would actually get in his stance and get his hands out beside him. And so his defensive technique just got a lot cleaner. And you could tell that that's something that they worked with him at College Park, is to learn how to not foul and to stay on your feet, on the balls of your feet, and to move and to switch and to keep the ball handle in front of you. I know he didn't play a ton down the stretch, of the season, but when he did play, like even if it was the last 3 minutes of garbage time after the Hawks either got blown out or the Hawks blew out their opponent, like he just showed so much cleaner technique defensively, and I'm looking forward to kind of seeing if that's all still there as he plays in these 2 summer leagues.
I agree. Yeah, I think I understand why they did it, even though it was him playing center. He just wasn't ready to do that. I think they knew it too. It's just what it was. And I think because of that, people are probably too low on him right now. I'll just give a couple stats. I know the G League is not the NBA. Keep that very much in mind. But he averaged 22 and 8 on 67% true shooting in the G League.
Ridiculous.
And was pretty much dominant from the moment he was there. And by the way, he was 19 when he was doing it, or maybe just turned 20.
And his
you know
ability to get to the rim, like, it's just he's fast. He's got a long stride. And he's fast, and I know he's probably still working on getting stronger. And kind of adding 5 or 10 pounds or whatever the target is. But yeah, his ability to get to the rim and just be really confident attacking the rim, that's where a lot of that true shooting percentage shows up.
Yeah, and as I said before, when we asked him, I think it was either me or Kevin asked like the specific question that he answered that about the defense, but he talks about defense and basically was like, hey, the Hawks, the team has told me that they're looking at my defense in Summer League, which is, it's obvious if you've watched him, like that's the side of the floor that needs more growth potential. But the fact that he's just was very open about it, like, I know what I got to do, got to switch, got to be strong. I think he used the term "move those puppies," like he kind of smiled about it, but like moving your feet and playing on the perimeter. But I think it's underrated handle offensively. I mean, I'm not trying to say he's going to be a star or anything like that, but I think he's being undervalued right now in discussions I'm having. I think people just kind of forgot about him, which I understand it, but like, it's going to sound crazy. I'll say it again now. I think I said it on Twitter or Patreon or somewhere. He only played 500 minutes last year in the NBA. With what I know now, I probably would have him like 10 spots higher than where he was drafted.
Yeah.
Like, and that's on the shooting alone.
Until Uncle Joe called and said, "Can we do?"
Well, I know. I mean, yeah, and it's just like, and I said that, and people were surprised, and I understand why he didn't get to prove that much. But honestly, the shooting alone, if you told me he was going to shoot the way he was already able to shoot last year as a prospect, that was not like a huge. I mean, he wasn't going to be an awful shooter, but like the fact that he was already like a real shooter in year one, like plus some of the handle stuff and defensively, we'll see. But yeah, I think. We'll talk about it later once we know how with Kuminga and the rest of the roster. But like, I'm okay with Asa Newell as backup power forward entering the season. I feel pretty good about that.
He needs to play. He's good enough.
Yeah, I'm a fan. By the way, he also, just as a final thing on this segment, he's so young compared to some other guys. Like, he's the same age as Braden Burries, who was a one and done in this class. He's younger than Adai Mara right now. Yep. He's younger than Cameron Carr. Like, he's a year and a half younger than Zuby and Henry. Yeah. And he's a year ahead of them in the NBA development system, but like, he's a young player still, like super young. He's 20. I think he turns 21 in October. So yeah, he's the one guy. Actually, I'll just end on this. If you were taking injury off the table, for me, he's the guy that I think gets the likelihood of being shut down first. Is that a reasonable assumption? You think I'm crazy or?
I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see. Knowing him, he was gonna want to play all the games, but then someone's got to step in and say, "Hey, so you're not playing all." Well,
they're gonna make him stop. I mean, also there's the year 2 thing, and it's not always this way, but it's a summer league phenomenon where, okay, guy comes back in year 2, and it's like, hey, he's too good to be here. Like he just like looks awesome, and he might play 1 or 2 games, and the team's like, all right, we see all we need to see. And that's kind of it. I'm not saying it's gonna happen to Asa Newell. But he's the guy I would probably project to play the least of all the key guys, only because he might just be shut down, and the league and Otzi and company might, all right, we're good, because he's also. It's funny. Last thing on this, I think he might have the clearest path to minutes in the NBA. It's either him or Kingston. We'll see what Kingston's role is day one. I think he's gonna be back at point guard. Yep. But like, it would not surprise me all that much if Asa played more than Flemings this season. Just saying that out loud.
Yeah, I think he's going to play a lot. I think I'm a huge believer in him. I think he's really good, and and like I said, I know if it were his choice, and only his choice, he'd play them all. You know that about him. But after, it could be like after 4 or 5 games, whatever that number is, you're like, okay, yeah, this is we see it up. We know where we're at.
Yeah, and look, just to say this out loud, people, if the guy ever gets shut down, it is the team telling him. It's not like it's not a suggestion. The player has no choice in the matter. It's like, hey, you're done. And it's almost always a very positive thing to say, hey, love what we saw. Not take the summer off, but take the summer off from games. We're done. Yeah. We're done with game action. All right, that is all for part 1 of this 2-part conversation with myself and Glenn on the Hawks and their summer league journey. Please stay tuned for part 2 in this same podcast feed. As soon as it's available, you will be certainly alerted to that, whether you're on Apple or on Spotify or on YouTube. Please subscribe and tell your friends. Follow the show on X/Twitter at Locked On Hawks. Follow me there at BT Rowland. Follow me on Blue Sky at BT Rowland. Follow my non-podcast coverage of the Hawks at patreon.com/BT Rowland. One more time, please stay tuned for part 2. Listen to that episode, watch that episode, and we'll see you all next time.